Well, this morning we continue to examine the rhythm that we have here at FBC and what moves us as a church. And we've heard that the identity of a person is what's most important, that God's design for each one of us is what is really, really key. And this morning I'm here with Christina and Blair, and I couldn't think of a better person for you to hear from this morning as we think and process what's already been happening here and in our discussion. So thank you so much for taking time to be here this morning and to share what's happened. So not everyone knows exactly what's been going on with the Blairs over the past year or two, or even some of the previous years. So could you give us just a quick recap of what you guys have been going through as a family?
This past year, we've spent a lot of time with working with our mortgage company. Mm-hmm. We had an adjustable rate mortgage that increased quite substantially, and trying to find ways that we could work with them to modify our loan. Sure. And then when that didn't work, I tried several different avenues to try to keep us to stay in our house, and the answer always came back no. Mm. So kind of resigned ourselves that, okay, this isn't where God wants us to be, and we started to look for a rental.
What were some of the feelings that you were experiencing as a mother, as a wife, and how did you process during this time?
It was hard. I had a lot of different emotions. The normal, sad, confused, frustrated, and disappointed. Kind of embarrassed, I guess, that we were in a situation that we would possibly be losing our house after being there 13 years. Never thought that was something that would happen. As a mom, it was hard to try to be able to discuss with John or on the telephone with a mortgage company. With 3 kids, there's bound to be one that hears something and gets upset. So with the kids, I just tried to let them know that it was going to be an adventure. Wherever God was going to lead us to go, that's where we were meant to be.
Sure. This morning we talked about the value of a person isn't what's happening around them or what they do or what they have, but in God's design. What was the response of the body here? Because that's part of our rhythm of supporting each other and caring for individuals. What was the response of some of the people here in the church?
It's not just been this last year that they've really gathered around and supported us. It goes back at least 7 years with the really above and beyond what you would normally think you would have from fellow church members and churchgoers. Dinners, prayers, Christmas gifts, school supplies, Tiger tickets, Beth Moore simulcast ticket. And that was one of the things that John and I made a very conscious effort to make sure that all 3 of the kids knew and understood that at Christmas time when they got those gifts, they weren't from Mommy and Daddy or they weren't from Santa. Those were from Jesus. Those were from the people who love us at our church and did those things.
Were there other ways that you saw God working in the midst of these situations? And also to bridge off of that, of what do you see God doing right now with your family?
The last handful of years, I definitely have those situations now that I can refer to and say, and I really do need to write in my journal, so when I have my struggles, that I can remember that God always gets me through. Kind of like the Israelites did with their stone altars. They did it in remembrance of what God did for them. And I think that that's really important, because for me with my faith, I'm better at it now, but when I was younger, and even 10 years ago, it was still hard for me because I couldn't see it, feel it, touch it. So something like that would be something that would be a physical reminder to say, hey, you know what? God's the one that did that.
What advice, what encouragement would you give to them this morning?
I would let them know that, God is always with you, and He will see you through this. It's not what you have, it's who you are that's important. I know that it was about 7 years ago, I had an index card that was left on the windshield of our van. It was parked downtown, and on the index card it was written, God keeps his promises. And that's something that I still have today. I have it in my hutch with, my china and some different things. I consider it to be one of my valuables because it was a message that I needed at a really hard time in my life. And I hope that God will use me, my husband, and my children to help other people, because that's really what would be the best thing that could come out of all of our struggles that we've had.
Absolutely. And I think this morning you've been a perfect example of that. I think you've helped other people and already been a blessing. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Well, thank you.